The NFL Draft, revered, distinguished, the chance for new hope. But with opportunity comes risk. Every team has swung and missed in its history. So let's take a look at the worst draft picks of all time for every NFL franchise. It's the year 2006, and the Arizona Cardinals are trying to improve on their dismal 5-11 record from the previous season. On the bright side, the team could pass the ball, behind QB Kurt Warner and weapons like Larry Fitzgerald and Anquan Boldin. So when it came time for Arizona to make the 10th pick in the 2006 draft, they selected Matt Leinart? Sure, Leinart won the Heisman and led USC to a national championship in 2004, which sounds great, but he wasn't better than what they had. Leinart never played more than 8 games for the team in a single season. In 2008, Kurt Warner led the Cardinals to a Super Bowl appearance, while Leinart stood on the sidelines. In 2010, Arizona cut the former first-round pick. In the year 2007, the Atlanta Falcons were drafting 8th overall. With names like Marshawn Lynch, Darrelle Revis, Greg Olsen, and Patrick Willis still on the board, it's hard to believe that the Falcons had one of the worst draft picks of all time. But here's how it happened. With Pro Bowler John Abraham dealing with injury and Patrick Kearney leaving Atlanta to sign with Seattle, the team was in desperate need of a defensive end. That's when Atlanta set its sights on the best D-end available at number 8, Jamal Anderson, first-team All-SEC player out of Arkansas. However, that season John Abraham did what he did best and had 10 sacks and 4 forced fumbles, while Anderson didn't record a single sack in his rookie season. And in 4 seasons with the Falcons, Anderson had just 105 tackles and only 4.5 sacks. He was released in 2011. 2 years later, he was out of the league. Still chasing the high of their Super Bowl win in 2000, the Baltimore Ravens struggled in 2002, finishing with a lackluster 7-9 record. They did strike gold drafting future Hall of Famer Ed Reed, but struggled at quarterback with Jeff Blake and Chris Redmond splitting time. The Ravens had their eyes set on drafting a franchise quarterback in 2003, hoping to get back to their winning ways. The choice? Cal's Kyle Boller with the 19th overall pick. Boller put up 7 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, and led the team to a 5-3 record his rookie season before an injury sent him to the bench. Then in 2008, the Ravens drafted Joe Flacco, who immediately took over as QB for the next decade and did win a Super Bowl. Boller was placed on IR in 2008, and his chapter with the Ravens came to an end. The Bills finished 2008 with a 7-9 record for the 3rd consecutive year, and they hadn't seen playoff action for 9 straight years. In a division perpetually dominated by New England, the Bills were struggling to build a solid competitive core for the future. Hoping to shore up their defense, Buffalo selected stud linebacker Aaron Maben out of Penn State with the 11th overall pick in the 2009 draft. 3 of the next 4 linebackers taken in the draft, 4-time Pro Bowler Brian Orakpo, Rookie of the Year and Pro Bowler Brian Cushing, and first-team All-Pro and 6-time Pro Bowler Clay Matthews. Maben did play in all 16 games in his rookie year, but totaled just 18 tackles and 0 sacks. In 2 seasons with the Bills, he started just 1 game. Buffalo waived him in 2011. With the end of the Jake Delhomme era in Carolina, and a 12-4 season now 2 years in the rearview, the Panthers had their eyes set on finding their next franchise quarterback. Unfortunately, playing retroactive Monday morning QB, the 2010 NFL Draft did not have the strongest class. Sam Bradford went first overall to the Rams, and Tim Tebow went 25th to the Broncos. The Panthers didn't quite hit with the 48th overall pick either, which was Jimmy Clausen out of Notre Dame. In his rookie season, Clausen threw 3 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, and had a 1-9 record as a starter. Only a year later in the 2011 NFL Draft, Carolina tried to quickly fix their QB issue, pushing Clausen aside and drafting Cam Newton first overall. Clausen didn't play another regular season snap until 2014 with the Chicago Bears. What do you do when your team stumbles through its 2014 season with a 5-11 record, fires its GM and head coach on the same day, and needs help in every facet of the game? Draft a wide receiver. Leading into the draft, the top 2 wideouts available were Amari Cooper and Kevin White. With Cooper going 4th to the Raiders, the decision for the Bears at 7 became clear. White out of West Virginia. He balled out in college, ran a 4.35 40, and put up massive numbers his senior year. How did that translate to the NFL? Well, in 3 seasons with the Bears, he had just a total of 25 receptions, 285 yards, no touchdowns, and was plagued by injury. It didn't help that receivers drafted after White included names like Stephon Diggs, Tyler Lockett, and Darren Waller. White was arguably the biggest bust of the 2015 draft. After suffering through another miserable season, the Bengals were blessed with the 3rd overall pick in the 1999 draft. The draft was seemingly loaded with quarterback talent. Top 3 projected picks in any order were expected to be Akili Smith, Tim Couch, and Donovan McNabb. With Couch going 1 to Cleveland and McNabb going 2 to Philly, the stars aligned for Akili Smith in Cincinnati. Smith finished a 4-year stint with just 17 starts, 5 passing touchdowns, 13 interceptions, and a 46.6% completion rate. Not the kind of numbers any franchise is looking for, much less a perpetually struggling one. The toughest pill to swallow for the Bengals? Saints coach Mike Ditka was desperately looking to trade up in the draft from number 12 to number 3 in order to draft running back Ricky Williams. Ditka reportedly offered Cincy 9 total picks for number 3 overall. It's a good bet one of those would have been better than Smith. With the number 1 pick in the draft, the Browns were hoping 1999 would be an exciting year for the franchise. After an expansion draft, the next order of business for the Browns was drafting the quarterback of the future. With the number 1 pick, the Browns selected gunslinger Tim Couch out of Kentucky, which didn't pan out. Couch started 14 games, was sacked 56 times, and led the team to a brutal 2-14 record. In 5 injury-riddled seasons with Cleveland, Couch started 62 games, throwing 64 touchdowns and 67 interceptions. The team released him in 2004 and has been searching for its franchise QB ever since. The 2011 Dallas Cowboys, true to form, were wildly mediocre. Mostly set on offense, the Cowboys looked to make moves on defense, and they traded away quite a bit to do so, sending 2 picks to the Rams to pick at 6. Would it be eventual 2012 Defensive Rookie of the Year, 2013 Defensive Player of the Year, 5-time First-Team All-Pro, and 7-time Pro Bowler Luke Kuechly? No. Stephon Gilmore? No. Fletcher Cox, Melvin Ingram, Chandler Jones, Harrison Smith, Bobby Wagner, or Josh Norman? No, 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 and no. It was cornerback Morris Claiborne out of LSU. This came as a surprise to Claiborne himself, since the Cowboys never even met with him prior to the draft. He never quite fit into their defense and snagged just 4 interceptions in 5 seasons playing for Dallas. Due to lack of production, injury, and cost of trading up to draft him, Morris Claiborne is the Cowboys' worst pick ever. The year is 2016. The Denver Broncos are Super Bowl champions and want to keep the party going. Peyton Manning is retired, Brock Osweiler has left the team to sign with Houston, and the Broncos have the 31st overall pick in the draft, with their eyes set on a fresh young quarterback. With Jared Goff and Carson Wentz off the board at 1 and 2, Denver trades up to 26th to grab 6'7" QB Paxton Lynch out of Memphis. Lynch put up huge stats in college, but never panned out in the pros. He competed for the starting job his rookie season. Trevor Siemian won the dismal battle and started 14 games. Lynch started 2. He finished his debut season with a 1-1 record, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. In his second season, Lynch struggled with injuries and started just 2 more games. And to think, Dak Prescott was drafted late in the 4th round, 109 picks after Lynch. The Detroit Lions struggled in 2002, as they often do, and won just 3 games in quarterback Joey Harrington's rookie season. The Lions thought using the coveted 2nd overall pick on a wide receiver would turn things around for the franchise. Enter Michigan State's Charles Rogers. But in 2 seasons, Charles Rogers played in just 6 games, suffering multiple broken clavicles. In 2005, he was suspended 4 games for violating the NFL substance abuse policy, then failed to make much noise in 9 games for the team. A year later, he was released. And to think, borderline Hall of Famer Andre Johnson was drafted 3rd to Houston. Other big names the Lions missed out on? Hall of Fame safety Troy Polamalu, cornerback Terrence Newman, defensive beast Terrell Suggs, and yet another wide receiver in Anquan Bolden, which made the Rodgers pick a bust in more ways than one. One of the most infamous bad picks in NFL draft history is the Green Bay Packers drafting offensive tackle Tony Manderich with the 2nd overall pick in 1989. Although Manderich was one of the top prospects coming into the draft, he never translated to the NFL. In fact, he spent most of his rookie year relegated to the special teams unit. Manderich spent 3 underwhelming seasons in Green Bay. He will forever be remembered as the guy drafted right after Hall of Famer Troy Aikman and right before Hall of Famers Barry Sanders, Derek Thomas, and Deion Sanders. So it's safe to say the pick for the pack did not work out. 2002 marked the first official season for the Houston Texans. And what better way to start a franchise than to secure a quarterback with the first overall pick in the draft? After being the top pick, David Carr racked up a quarterback rating of just 62.8 in his rookie season. It didn't help that he was sacked an NFL record 76 times. And in the team's first 5 seasons, Carr was sacked a total of 249 times. Houston wound up cutting Carr in 2007, and while it was understandable that the Texans wanted a quarterback to build around, they missed on 9-time Pro Bowl defensive end Julius Peppers, 5-time Pro Bowl safety Roy Williams, 7-time Pro Bowl defensive end Dwight Freeney, and Hall of Fame safety Ed Reed, who were all taken after the QB who spent most of his time in Texas on the ground. With the number 1 overall pick in any draft, one would expect to land an impact player. Not the case in 1992. The Indianapolis Colts were coming off a brutal 1-15 season. They squeezed out their one win by a single point and scored just 143 points all year, the fewest of all time in a 16-game season up to that point. While the offense needed all the help it could get, the defense wasn't much better off. So the Colts chose to draft defensive lineman Steve Entman out of Washington with the first pick in the '92 draft. The choice looked good on paper, but playing mostly on AstroTurf in Indy, the defensive end finished each of his 3 seasons with the Colts on the IR. He played in just 18 games in 3 seasons for the Colts, totaling 75 tackles, 5 sacks, and 1 interception. It's tough to see what could have been for Indy on D, as 5-time Pro Bowl defensive back Troy Vincent was drafted 6 picks after Emmett. Finishing at 8-8, the 2010 Jacksonville Jaguars weren't bad. David Garrard was serviceable at quarterback, and Maurice Jones-Drew was a beast of a running back. The main problem was the defense, but Jacksonville decided to add more depth to their QB spot. The Jags were so set on a certain quarterback that they traded up from 16 to 10 in order to draft Blaine Gabbert out of Missouri. In the offseason, Coach Jack Del Rio insisted Garrard would still be the team's starter. But days before the 2011 regular season began, Garrard was released. Gabbert started 14 games his rookie season and led the Jags to a disappointing 5-11 campaign. He had little protection from the line, was sacked 40 times, and had 14 fumbles. In early 2014, he was traded to the 49ers for a 6th-round pick. Looking back at the 2011 draft, it's apparent that superstar J.J. Watt, drafted number 11 right after Gabbert, would have made a better selection. 8 players drafted in 1983 became eventual Hall of Famers. Names like John Elway, Dan Marino, Eric Dickerson, and Jim Kelly. Rewind back to the 1982 season. The Kansas City Chiefs lost twice as many games as they won and needed to fill an apparent hole at quarterback. QB Todd Blackledge seemed like a safe choice. In 3 years at Penn State, he went 31-5 and won a national championship. Once in the pros, the plan was for Blackledge to replace Bill Kenny at QB. However, Kenny won the starting job and had a breakout season. Blackledge saw little action in 4 games his rookie year. When all was said and done with the Chiefs, Blackledge started just 24 games in 5 years. We already mentioned that KC passed up on Jim Kelly at 14 and Dan Marino at 27 to take Blackledge as their passer. Speaking of the most infamous draft bust of all time, no list is complete without quarterback Ryan Leaf. The 97 Chargers finished the season last in the AFC West. When the 1998 draft came along, QBs Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf were the 2 best players available. There was even a debate on which of the 2 should be drafted with the first pick. The Chargers didn't want to wait until pick 3 and risk missing out on one of the top 2 QBs. So they traded Arizona the 3rd pick, a future first rounder, a 2nd-round pick, and 3-time Pro Bowler Eric Metcalf for number 2. Once Indianapolis drafted Peyton Manning first, the choice for the Chargers was simple: Ryan Leaf. Leaf started 9 games his rookie year, completing 45.3% of his passes and throwing 2 touchdowns and 15 picks. Leaf dealt with issues on and off the field during his 3 years with the team, and the Chargers cut the QB in early 2001. Peyton Manning, of course, would go on to become one of the best QBs in the history of the league. But players selected after Leaf, like Charles Woodson, Randy Moss, and Alan Faneca also panned out, making Leafs selection a particularly noteworthy bust. Sure, looking back on the 2009 draft, there aren't many huge names that stand out. Matt Stafford went first to the Lions, Clay Matthews 26th to the Packers, and LaShawn McCoy went 53 to the Eagles. But besides their future QB in Stafford, the Rams had their pick of the litter at number 2 overall. The team went 2-14 the year prior, and quarterback Mark Bolger was sacked 38 times. So the offensive line seemed like a good area to beef up. The Rams went with Baylor offensive tackle Jason Smith at number 2. But 8 games into his rookie season, Smith suffered a serious concussion, which held him out for the rest of the year. The following season, he lost his starting job to a new rookie. What did the $33 million in guaranteed money the Rams gave him get them? Just 26 starts before he was traded to the Jets in 2012. While most NFL teams have a large handful of draft busts, none is as big as quarterback JaMarcus Russell. The 2006 Raiders went 2-14 and ranked last in the NFL in points scored. The silver lining for the silver and black was that they had one of the best defenses in the league and had the number 1 pick in the 2007 draft to look forward to. The Raiders selected JaMarcus Russell from LSU. They passed up on eventual Hall of Famer Calvin Johnson, inevitable Hall of Famer Joe Thomas, Adrian Peterson, Marshawn Lynch, and Darrelle Revis. The list goes on and on. In 3 disappointing seasons in Oakland, Russell had a 7-18 record as a starter, and the Raiders never exceeded more than 5 wins in a campaign. The team would eventually cut him in 2010. After Dan Marino's retirement, the 2000 Dolphins were back to their winning ways. With the 26th pick in the 2001 draft, rather than seeking a new franchise QB, maybe someone like future Hall of Famer Drew Brees, who the Dolphins also famously passed up on later in free agency, Miami opted to shore up its already stacked secondary, drafting cornerback Jamar Fletcher out of Wisconsin. Pro Bowl cornerbacks Patrick Surtain and Sam Madison served as one of the league's best lockdown secondaries already, and the team was set with Brock Marion and Brian Walker at safety. So the choice to pass up a quarterback was surprising. Any good position player would have likely worked out better as well, given Fletcher played 3 seasons with the Dolphins, starting just 6 games and picking off only 2 passes. In March of 2005, superstar receiver Randy Moss was dealt to the Raiders. Dante Culpepper and the high-flying Vikings would now be thin at receiver. When Troy Williamson, a speedster deep ball threat out of South Carolina, became available at number 7 in the 2005 draft, the Vikings drafted him, hoping he would fill Randy's shoes. Williamson, however, pulled down just 3 touchdowns in 3 seasons with the Vikings, while dropping a number of crucial passes. 7 of the next 8 picks after Williamson went on to become Pro Bowlers, guys like cornerback Antrell Roll and linebackers DeMarcus Ware and Sean Merriman. Receivers Roddy White and Vincent Jackson also went later, and so did Aaron Rodgers, who Minnesota just may regret passing on, despite already paying Culpepper. For the first time in the Bill Belichick era, the Patriots drafted a first-round receiver in the 2019 draft, N'Keal Harry from Arizona State. By taking Harry, they passed up on Deebo Samuel, DK Metcalf, A.J. Brown, Deontay Johnson, Terry McLaurin, and Hunter Renfrow. Harry had Tom Brady thrown to him his rookie season, but failed to be of much help. He gained a reputation for poor route running and dropped passes. Meanwhile, New England is still looking for a wide receiver. The Saints had a great offense in 2002, but a terrible defense. Blessed with the 6th overall pick in the 2003 draft, the Saints had several defensive stars to choose from. Defensive tackle Kevin Williams went on to be a 5-time first-team All-Pro. Linebacker Terrell Suggs went to 7 Pro Bowls. Safety Troy Polamalu went to the Hall of Fame. But the Saints pick, defensive tackle Jonathan Sullivan from Georgia, ended up having a very lackluster pro career. In 3 seasons in New Orleans, he barely contributed on the field, having just 1.5 sacks and 78 total tackles. Sullivan was traded to New England for wide receiver Bethel Johnson, who ultimately was released before the 2006 regular season began. The 1996 New York Giants, looking for a sidekick for Michael Strahan on the line, drafted Cedric Jones 5th overall. The Oklahoma defensive end didn't turn out as hoped. In 5 seasons with the Giants, he underwhelmed with just 151 total tackles and 15 sacks. The 96 draft class was stacked with talent. A couple dozen Pro Bowlers were selected after Jones. Not to mention Hall of Famers Ray Lewis, Terrell Owens, Marvin Harrison, and Brian Dawkins. So yeah, when it came to that selection, the G-Men could have done better. Quarterback Christian Hackenberg out of Penn State went 51st overall to the Jets in 2016 and contributed absolutely nothing to the team in his 2 seasons there. After a rough preseason in the Meadowlands, Hackenberg entered his rookie year as the 4th-string quarterback behind Ryan Fitzpatrick, Geno Smith, and Bryce Petty. He didn't play a single down and was inactive for 15 of the 16 games. 2017 wasn't much better for the QB. He again didn't play a down. In 2018, the Jets traded him to the Raiders for a conditional 2019 7th-round pick. 2 seasons of no play for a 2nd-round pick, only to be traded for next to nothing. Like every other team in the NFL, the 2016 Jets missed out on Dak Prescott, who went 135th overall. The Philadelphia Eagles were one of the best teams in the league in 2002. They finished 12-4 under Andy Reid, but lost to the eventual Super Bowl champion Bucs in the NFC Championship. When the 2003 draft came along, the franchise decided to strengthen their already potent defensive line, led by 3-time Pro Bowler Hugh Douglas. They traded up from pick 30 to pick 15 in order to draft defensive end Jerome Mcdougall from Miami. Mcdougall was riddled with injuries during his time in Philly, and in 3 seasons with the Eagles, played in just 33 games and started in 0. A better pick clearly could have helped during that run, as the Eagles made it to another NFC Championship and then the Super Bowl, while defensive talent like Troy Polamalu, who went right after Mcdougall, Lance Briggs, Robert Mathis, and Asante Samuel were still on the board when they selected. The Steelers had a tough 2012 season, finishing 3rd in the division with an NFL record 6 of their games decided on the last play. One area Pittsburgh needed to work on was edge rushing. When SEC Defensive Player of the Year, linebacker Jarvis Jones, fell to 17, Steelers jumped on him. The guy had a whopping 28 sacks in his final 2 years at Georgia. So what could go wrong? Well, in his rookie season, Jones only had 1 sack. And in 4 seasons with the Steelers, he had just 6 sacks and 2 interceptions. 4 of the next 5 picks after Jones turned out to be Pro Bowlers, including safety Eric Reed, offensive lineman Kyle Long, tight end Tyler Eifert, and cornerback Desmond Trufant. And the number 27 pick by Houston, DeAndre Hopkins, would have made a pretty scary sight for secondaries alongside Antonio Brown. Luckily, Pittsburgh made up for the Jones whiff by stealing TJ Watt at the end of the 1st round in 2017. There's no way around it. The 2008 Seattle Seahawks stunk, finishing 4-12 on the season. In the 2009 offseason, they really could have looked to improve in every aspect on the field. With the 4th pick in the draft that year, they took linebacker Aaron Curry from Wake Forest. He signed a deal worth $34 million guaranteed, the most by any non-quarterback rookie in league history at the time. But he never lived up to the hype. He lost his starting job in 2011 and was traded to Oakland early in the season. In return, the Seahawks got a 7th rounder in 2012 and a conditional pick in 2013. No worse draft picks list can be complete without Giovanni Carmazzi. Unfortunately for him, he'll always be linked with another player, Tom Brady. 1999 marked Steve Young's final season in the league. Sure, the 49ers had Jeff Garcia at QB, but San Fran had their eyes set on drafting their next QB of the future. The 49ers landed on Giovanni Carmazzi in the 3rd round. Carmazzi never appeared in a regular season game for the Niners and was released after 2 seasons. Meanwhile, San Fran, just like everyone else, passed up on Bay Area native and future GOAT Tom Brady, who famously went 199th. The 2006 Bucs ranked near the bottom of the league in both offense and defense. With the D-line needing repair specifically, Tampa drafted defensive end Gaines Adams from Clemson at number 4 overall. Adams played 2.5 seasons for the Bucs and never brought the kind of production you're looking for in one of the top picks in the draft. Making matters worse, Adrian Peterson was selected 7th, followed by future stars like Patrick Willis, Marshawn Lynch, and Darrelle Revis. After losing All-Pro offensive tackle Jack Conklin to free agency following the 2019 season, the Titans looked to rebuild their offensive line. With the 29th pick in the 2020 draft, they selected lineman Isaiah Wilson from Georgia. The dominant run blocker seemed like the perfect fit to help protect superstar Derrick Henry in the backfield. However, he saw action in just one game for the Titans, playing 4 snaps in garbage time. Wilson dealt with several off-the-field issues and could never find his footing in the league. Less than a year after drafting him, Tennessee traded Wilson and a 7th-round pick in 2022 to Miami for a 7th-round pick in 2021. Miami waived him 3 days later, after Wilson missed multiple workouts and arrived late to his physical exam. Washington won the Super Bowl in 1991, but after head coach Joe Gibbs retired in '93, the team fell on hard times. In 1994, the franchise saw a ray of hope coming in the form of the 3rd overall pick in the draft. They drafted Heath Schuler out of Tennessee, who was considered to be Washington's prize quarterback of the future. But due to poor play in his rookie season, he lost the starting job to 7th-round pick Gus Frerotte. When all was said and done, Schuler played in 19 games for Washington in 3 seasons, throwing 13 touchdowns and 19 interceptions. Besides the numerous future Pro Bowlers drafted after Schuler, 4 eventual Hall of Famers were passed up by Washington as well: Bryant Young, Isaac Bruce, Kevin Mawae, and Larry Allen. So, whoever your favorite team is, just know that everyone has gone through that same pain of what could have been. Hey, there's always next year.